competition is actually a good sign. It means there are people willing to pay to buy this kind of tool. The problem exists. It's widespread. This is a really good indirect validation, right?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Top of the Hunt. Today, we've got Robin from ListenUp.AI, who's created a tool that would have solved his own problem. So naturally, he's dog fooding it. He came from working at Lempire, which has created a lot of interesting tools. He was the head of product there. And from that, he's created this tool now today, which I think you'll find incredibly useful if you're working in product. And that doesn't limit yourself to being a product manager. If you're a startup or in a small business, chances are you work in product and don't even realize it. So I'll pass you over to Robin. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hey Tyron, so yes, I'm Robin and I'm based in Paris. And right now I'm the founder of ListenUp, which is a tool to centralize feedback and user research and try to speed up the process using AI because it's very time consuming and we are all already very busy. And before that, I was head of product at Lempire, which is a company with different type of products, but the main ones are Lemlist, Lemwarm, Lemcal, and Tablio, Tweet Hunter, different product also. And yes, I just decided to go on the entrepreneurial journey a few months ago. I think it was already 10 months ago. Yes, something like this. And I always wanted to try my luck. Yes, before joining Lempire, I actually was trying to launch a mobile app. So B2C, very different. It was a habit tracking app, which is such a bad idea because there are already like 1,000 apps in this category and the mobile apps are extremely competitive, very hard. So yes, in a way, it was good not to launch it, but it's still a good experience because I learned a lot of stuff by myself. One thing I do a lot is try to learn stuff all the time. Right now, for instance, I'm really into learning marketing, which is quite different from what I did so far. I was more into the craftsmanship type of work, meaning I'm an engineer first. I also learn how to do design, so product design, UX design, UI design. And then I learn how to do product management because that's just thought it was the cool position since you were at the middle of all those type of different domains needed to build great products. But yeah, just I'm so eager to learn about everything. So yes.
I think some people look at education as a standalone. You finish university and you're done. But I think that's naive. And then a couple of years after graduation, you would probably realize, actually, I didn't know a lot then and I don't know much more now. So the continual learning is, I think, something that's probably massively underrated for most entrepreneurs. It's you're going to have 100 hats until you can afford to pay for someone else to wear it. So that's fantastic. So
Exactly.
from there with the Lempire, how did that journey go? Did you start off in product or did you evolve into product with them?
So yes, very good question because the story was a bit unusual. So at the time I was still in my engineering school, but I was very bored. To be honest, today I would say I regret doing the engineering school because it was very interesting. You learn a lot, but looking back at it and asking myself, okay, what did it bring? What was the ROI of this experience? I think it's pretty hard to say. You do learn a lot of stuff, but today I only use 10% of what I've learned. So the whole 5 years of it, not sure it was a good investment, but in the middle of my courses, I decided to just start working. So I just started to look for freelance missions, and I just told myself as someone who can build more mobile apps, design them, like do everything. Basically, you don't know how to do it, I will do it for you. But I didn't have any experience, so my goal was just to learn. Make myself as cheap as possible on freelancing platforms and try to learn by myself. And I was transparent with the customers I had at the time. I was saying, okay, I'm just going to learn everything. It's going to be great at the end, but I won't promise you it will be done fully because it's quite challenging. It will take some time, but at least it's cheap. But it worked out because yes, when you have no choice, you learn faster. And yes, and that's actually a very good exercise because you have to learn how to work with clients, with customers, and manage relationships, and also build the actual product. And yeah, I did this for 2 years. And it was, I think, very important to do because, yeah, I learned a lot, much more than the actual school. And yeah, I think the school brought networking and also just learning how to work. That's what I would say. Yes, actually discipline regarding work ethics, but that's it, to be honest. And yeah, I was still in the school and I was looking for like my job. I decided I needed to work in a company. And what I did is I tried to how do you say in English? Sorry, I'm looking for the word. To apply to different product manager position. And why product manager? Because I just discovered the role and I just thought it was exactly what I needed to do because I'm very I'm bored very fast. So when I do too much software engineering, I will get very bored very fast, even if I really love it. Same for product design. And so I just thought it was super cool to be in the kind of in the middle, so you can touch at everything. So if you want to do like some development, you can. You want to do some design, you can. But I also saw that was not the job in big company, like product manager, actually much more into the politics and the management side of things. And the project management is one part of the job. People don't like to when we say this, but that's actually true. So that's why I decided to target startups because I know that you had to be much more into the actual work, moving things forward. And also, I guess it's a bit easier to find like a job with no experience in startups than in big companies. At least that's how I thought about it. But yes, I applied to like thousands of really nice company I've cherry picked, and I get no job, no answers, nothing, no response. And yeah, I was super depressed, I remember, because I really thought my profile would be interesting. So I decided just to directly outreach the founders of companies I found. And one of them was actually Lempire. At the time, it was just called Lemlist. That was the main product. And yes, I just found about Guillaume, which is the CEO and founder of Lemlist. And I remember it was on Facebook. And I just sent him like a Facebook DM saying, hey, I really like Lemlist. It looks like a really cool product and a very nice company. Would love to help. I'm just looking for a product manager job. It could be anything. Here is my CV and let's talk. And yeah, it worked because actually I was the only one on this channel. So my advice is, yeah, go on channel nobody is using. So yeah, Facebook, everyone has a Facebook profile and you can send DMs. So yeah, it worked. And then I joined the company and just learned on the fly what I needed to learn. And yeah, it was super challenging, not gonna lie.
Having the rejections that you had, perhaps today, if the same person, if you were applying today, obviously with the experience you'd had then, people would be looking a lot more favorably on entrepreneurial experience and the fact that you're trying to do something outside of the box, because it demonstrates that I think a lot more of a problem-solving capability inside somebody. As you're saying, you were going down an educational path you weren't perhaps 100% happy with, and then to say, actually, let's supplement this with the entrepreneurial side. I think today 10 times more viral. So perhaps he was just ahead of his time at the limb list. And he was like,
Yes.
yeah, do you know what? This is a type of guy we need.
It's all social proof. So if you're getting into the inbound process when company are hiring, it's all social proof. So if you don't have the social proof, but you think you have the attitude or the personality or the soft skills or just like the hustle culture, I think Outbound is way better because you can actually do some personalized approach and you can even do some pre-work. So saying, if I were in the same situation with what I know today, I would actually do the exact same process, but I would just send a video of me just showing some work I did on the product, like how I found out about Lemlist. It looks very cool. But yeah, I just signed up and I tried the onboarding and I really thought this and this would be much better if it looked like this. And I would actually show something and just throw a CTA at the end. Hey, if you want to discuss this during a 15-minute chat, yeah, here is my Calendly link and see you. Have a good day. That's it. Yes.
Yeah. It certainly beats some of those tedious job application processes. and I think it'll be a lot more successful. That's very
Yes.
interesting.
And it
So,
already puts you in the 1% of all candidates. Yeah.
100%. So, what was your experience like with Lemlist? Obviously, the career progression and staying with one company and watching it evolve and your job role. What's that been like for you?
Yes, Lempire is a quite different type of company because it's not VC backed, so it's bootstrapped, and the culture is then very different. We have to be much more smarter in a way. We have to do less, more with less. And yeah, you just can't take the VC backed type of company playbook and apply it to the situation. It won't work. So, yes, it's less people, less resources, less money, and you are trying to do as much as possible with that, all of that. But yeah, constraint creates creativity, and that's really true because I think at one point we were just shipping faster than some of our competitors who were VC backed. We were bringing much more value to customers. We had a better GTM motion than some of them. Yes, and actually I saw it. I think it was 1 or 2 days ago. Maybe you've seen it on LinkedIn. Someone shared like the difference of growth between VC-backed SaaS companies and bootstrap companies, and the time from 0 to 1 million IRR. And it's super interesting to see how little difference actually there is. The main lessons were you don't need that much people. Like small team actually works, and if you have people who are talented, have good work ethic, and also I'm gonna use the French word because that's what we were using inside when I was still working at Lempire, which was débrouillard, meaning you just what would be English equivalent? It would be just like doer. You're a doer. So you're gonna execute. You're not gonna think too much about it. Even if you don't know how to do something, you are pretty confident you can learn it and do a pretty good job. And it could be anything. So even if you are a software engineer, sometimes you might have to do some design decision, which is a common example. But yeah, maybe sometime you will have to also handle the support conversation with angry customers or help on the marketing side of things or do this or do that. And I think that's extremely valuable to just be confident in your own skills to learn stuff, which is I don't remember who we were talking about. It's meta skills, like how well can you speak, how well can you listen, how well can you learn, and work ethic would fit in there. I think so, and that's extremely important because with this toolkit, I think you can actually do anything you want. Of being very specialized in one role or one job and be extremely good at it, which is exactly what you don't want in a small company, and especially when it's bootstrap because you have less people and you have more stuff to do. So yes, finding out those people and trying to bring them and hire them, and it was quite challenging because it's not very common, to be honest. So one good strategy is just to instead of trying to wait for them to come at you, so do inbound, go full outbound and actually look at nice projects or products or stuff people did online and look at it and judge, would that person be someone that would fit the role description? Most of the time it would, and that's one very good way to find candidate. Much more time consuming, way less scalable, but at this stage, not really important.
No, it's very interesting. I think inadvertently they might have been creating a bunch of future entrepreneurs because it's people who've got the pliability to learn lots of new things. Sometimes I've worked with people in the past and they're incredible at one thing, but if you move them from a big organization to a small one and said, now you've got to do 10, they're going to look and I can't do this. And all of a sudden they look useless because they can only do 10% of the job. But as you're saying, it's everybody who's came along. And not only is he looked for people who've had the skill set, he's then helped them build more skills. So it's a fantastic way of working, and
It
especially
is.
with the bootstrapping, I can imagine it was incredible at times. All of a sudden, you've got a designer doing dev work, perhaps, and a dev on customer support, and customer support might be looking at a bit of product. It's very, very interesting.
It is, and yes, but it also has cons. It's always a trade-off. Nothing is perfect, and I think it's also important. We will like one big learning also was to be very honest with people up front about the way it works at Lempire when we were hiring them, which is it's gonna be pretty intense. And also you're gonna do a lot of different stuff, which is something you might want, but some people don't. And also, yeah, no rear guard. You will have to be have a lot of agency. This word is very popular right now, but this is what you need actually. And you have to be okay with this because it has a cost, which is, it can be stressful. You have to manage your whole time. You have to be very mindful about where you invest your intention. And it's very easy to be overwhelmed. And that's something that can be quite hard for a lot of people. Some people just want to have very defined paths and to-do list and stuff to do, which is okay. But some people don't, and I think that's the kind of people who would thrive in such a such company. And yes, but it's pretty hard to discern when you are looking for new talents.
Yeah. Did it go wrong often, or was it a high success rate of the right people?
Kind of, it's really hard to give you an answer. Yes, both, really. Hiring is very hard, and I still have so much to learn. But from all the people I've talked to who hired a lot of really talented people in the very successful companies, the main lesson the main observation they all gave me is that you will make mistakes. There is no perfect answers. It's still like a lot of bets to take, and yeah, it can go on. Even if you do everything by the book, you will still make mistakes. And yes.
No, fair enough. So from there, what made you want to come up with ListenUp.AI? Was it a product, an issue you saw internally, or was it you decided to leave and then this is something you know? How did it come about?
Yes. So I actually had the idea when I was working on the habit tracking mobile app before joining Lempire and before everything. I just thought I was doing product discovery, which I define, the terminology is very different. Okay, there are a lot of stuff we can talk about, but one very interesting observation is that talking to customers is an activity shared by a lot of departments or roles. And the terminology and the philosophy and how you should do it is very different. And that's super interesting. So giving you an example, founders will talk a lot about the mom test and customer pain point and market research. Okay. And then you have the product manager and product designer. We're going to talk about opportunity tree. They're going to talk about interviews. They're going to talk about surveys, that kind of product analytics, that kind of stuff. And then you have user researcher and UX designers. We're going to talk about research panel and research methodologies. And even the words are not the same. Even the way of doing it is not the same. And that's super interesting because the end goal for all of them is the same. And that was surprising. But yeah, I was doing a lot of research discovery for the mobile app because I was managing like a Reddit community where I was planning the beta I was going to release. And I was also doing interviews with people. And I just thought this is really helpful, extremely valuable, but it's so time consuming, it's crazy. And I was looking for tools because I was just curious and I thought this should be a common issue for a lot of people. I'm sure there are tools that exist to make your life easier. And there are a lot. It's a very competitive market, but I just couldn't find something that really clicks for me. But at the time, I didn't really care because I was still in the stage where I was doing unscalable things. So yeah, I just move on. But then I was talking with a friend of mine who also are in the product management world, and they had the same pain points in their jobs. So I just thought, okay, I'm not the only one. This is really an issue, even for people working in startups, because I just thought this was an issue for big companies. And then, yeah, when I joined Lempire, same thing over and over, but much more intense. We were having a lot of feedbacks from very different channels. So customer support tickets. We also had like direct feedback from the app. We also had emails from customers. Also the sales team were receiving a lot of feedbacks and objection. And yes, and we were also doing a lot of customer call with people every week. And it was very hard to do this at scale and have everything in the same place and make it actionable and efficient. I was actually like sometimes spending half my week doing this very repetitive, annoying work. So yes, at the time I was looking for a tool we could implement at Lempire, and I just found out that none really existed that fitted all needs. We were doing pragmatic research. That's the way I like to put it. Meaning, for most company, I think just doing interviews, some surveys, having product analytics, and gathering a lot of inbound feedback, meaning it comes at you, is 20% of the work for 80% of the effort. I really think so for most companies. And no tool were actually focusing on that. So either you were having the very research intensive, heavy and academic way of doing things, enterprise grade type of tools, or you had like the feedback tools, but it doesn't support interviews, or you have the meeting recorder, but it doesn't do the feedback and that kind of stuff. So yeah, and when I talked to a lot of product team, I saw that people were using 4 to 5 different tools to do the job, which sounded crazy. And that's where I saw that there were a big opportunity here. And also I was just super frustrated, and I really wanted a very specific kind of tool. And yeah, I just decided to try to build it and see how it goes. In any case, it's the win or learn kind of situation, so you can't lose. And it was a very hard decision, to be honest, because so many stuff we were working at Lempire, very exciting project. And yeah, it was a very hard decision to actually leave. But yeah, I really hate having regret in life, and I thought I would much more regret not doing this and trying my luck than just staying in the safe and comfort zone. So yes.
No, it's very interesting. I think that's the case for a lot of people. I've spoken to a few people who perhaps it's been the wife or a loved one that said to them, look, do it now before you regret it. And obviously it's a case of with entrepreneurship, you can never be too old, but I think that there comes a position where financially perhaps you're too caught up to be able to take the risk for sometimes. And that seems to be the biggest issue where your wife would say, you can't afford to take a risk right now. Don't even think about it. Do you know, it's maybe if you get laid off, you can take a month or two before you look for another job. If you can build something then. But it's fantastic you've taken the risk. So for ListenUp.AI, what specifically would it do for a young product manager coming along today?
The overall, the big vision, I'm gonna start here, is just connect all the tools you use in your company, and we're gonna find feedbacks and user research artifacts, I like to call them that way, and we're gonna pull everything ourselves, analyze everything with AI, and just give you the actionable insights. So instead of spending 10 to 20 hours doing this work manually, which a lot of people still do as of today, and also just having a lot of dead end girls. And yeah, also there are people who have tons of feedbacks. I'm thinking like, okay, I'm gonna give you a very different example. Gaming companies, they have so many feedbacks online, and they don't use it because it would be too time consuming to analyze everything. There is so much volume, and how can we enable everyone to have like all the signal and the very broad and large vision about what is the market thinking in a way. That's the vision, having everything in the same place and packaged in a very good product. Because I have some hot takes about this, but I found that most SaaS tools are extremely boring, and it's been very I really think that's true. That there are so much standards are good, but it made the web a bit boring. And I remember 10 years ago, every mobile app you were using or website was so unique and charming and different. Obviously, it was terrible UX-wise most of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are now on the other side, and I think it's too extreme. Like every SaaS is looking the same. It's the same tone. It's the same UI. It's the same. Yeah, it's very boring. And I really like the product that takes some risks, and I know that some people really resonate with that, and especially in our world, we are talking to product teams, and obviously they like good products, well-made products. So yeah, very interesting.
It's interesting because I think you're right, and I had a vision in my head of everybody like the old Apple Macintosh advert where the 1980 or something it was. I can't remember what it was called, but where everybody was monotonous, going to work, and eventually they smashed the screen. It's a bit like that, and I suppose if you were to apply it to people, if you said everybody pick what your favorite food is, we'll eventually find the highest ranking one. Everybody might be eating beans on toast for the rest of their life because it's inoffensive, and it's not a nice meal, is it? If you had to choose for your first date, you wouldn't pick it. And I
Yes.
suppose that's the problem you're solving or the way you're looking at solving the problem is, look, this can be interesting too. No, it's fantastic because I know your website's very, it's not totally unique in the way you've done things, but the design of it is different traditional SaaS. The cursors and the buttons and other things and some of the imagery. So it's you're holding true to what you're saying.
Oh yes, we spent so much time, way too much time, iterating on the design and the vibe we wanted people to feel. And it was hard, not because we were trying to do something unique, but because we were trying to do something unique, yet that felt at home for most people and still like respect UX guidelines. Because yeah, I actually want to do like a LinkedIn post showing the first iteration of the design system we were thinking about for ListenUp, and yeah, it's kind of crazy. So it was a good decision to actually dig deeper and try to balance everything, the right amount of unique but still simple. So yes.
No, you're right. It brings it back to the way you were talking about the difference how people look at interviews. It's the same thing from a marketing perspective. I would talk about the points of parity in your design and then the points of differentiation. So you've hit enough parity so people understand what's going on. So they're much like, you're walking into a SaaS tool, you know what to expect. But then there's enough differentiation in there in the design, at least to make sure people understand that you're a bit different. It's very good. I do like the design. I'm not much of a designer, but it does stand out as a good tool. So from there, if somebody was to use your tool, you've mentioned perhaps it would save somebody 20 hours a week. Is that the core focus for what you would be using to sell the tool to other people, or is it something else that's a secret sauce in there that they could never emulate in a different way? What alternatives are there? Are there many direct competitors? Because I've not seen many, if
Oh
any.
yes, they are. There
There
are
are.
a lot. Yes, but they all have a different approach to solving the problem, which is very interesting. Because to be honest, I think it's very hard uh, problem to solve. The problem is very clear. It exists. It's frequent. It's intense. It's there. But then the solutions are very different. Either you do like a kind of a lukewarm solution that's kind of in the middle of everything and it works, but it's just good enough. Or you do like a very flexible product that can support every workflow and every situation. That could be a solution. Or you do like a very opinionated tool that just say, this is how we think you should do discovery. We won't do anything else. That's the way we want you to use the product. You don't like it, don't use it. That could be one angle. And to be honest, we are still not very clear on which path we should take. For now, we more into the, okay, what's the common denominator for everyone and how can we make it unique? And so far, it really resonates with people, which was surprising, to be honest. I really thought we were going to change a lot of this based on the feedback we received so far. But no, people really like this approach. And we try to keep the tool as simple as possible. And I really like to think about adding new feature. There is a associated cost every single time, even a small feature. And every single time you have to ask yourself, is it a good way? Is it a good deal? Is it a good trade-off to add this feature for these benefits? But then you have those costs. Do we still think it's a good decision? And a lot of time you end up thinking it's not, to be honest. I really like to think about product management as taking bets. And it's just, in a way, it's very similar to investing. You're investing time, attention, efforts.
Yeah, no, it's very good. Because just the last two things on your design, there was two things I saw in your copy that was interesting. But one part was about Bill Gates on the website, and the second part was about eating your own dog food. I've seen a few people not eat their own dog food and then be wondering why nobody likes their product. So if you can't use it, then who's probably actually solving? So it's interesting you've taken that approach.
Oh yes, yeah. That's okay. That's one of the hot takes we have, which is in the product world. A lot of people will say you have to make everything data driven. Every decision needs to be backed by data, which is one approach, and there are so many counter example of the exact opposite, people going full intuition, full vision, bold bets, and that also can work. And I think, again, it's all bets, and it's just how much risk are you willing to take. And even us, we could tell you, we're making a tool to take better decision, basically. And we could tell you, okay, you need to do discovery for every decision. You have to do it all the time. You have to back every decision with customer insights. But I don't think so, to be honest. And that might be surprising to say this when we are actually building a tool to make data-driven decision. But I really think also intuition is very, very underrated, especially in smaller company when you have a strong vision and good intuition, because there are some people with very good intuition. You can go so much faster, and dogfooding your own tools is the best way to actually build faster and make sure the product works. And if it works for you, it will probably work for others if you're doing some kind of common type of tool. So yes, extremely underrated, I think.
So did you spend a lot of time validating the idea, or did you just say, we know what we need to build, let's build it and see what the people think?
Okay, yes, very interesting. So still, it's a big bet. Like building a new product is a big bet, and the associated costs are very high. We knew that to build such a tool, the minimum feature set is very high because people have big expectation. We are playing in an existing market with competitors, and that means yes, the tolerance bar is pretty low. So knowing this, we knew that we needed to de-risk the decision a bit because the approach we were taking was a bit different. We were not just making like a copycat of another tool, but having competition is actually a good sign. It means there are people willing to pay to buy this kind of tool. The problem exists. It's widespread. This is a really good, indirect validation, right? Very underrated because some people will see competition and think, oh, okay, I won't do it because it means the market is already saturated, which is not true. You can always niche down or do different or do better. There are a lot of ways to make your own spot, to position yourself in the market. But anyway, yes, so we decided to de-risk the decision, and to do that, we did talk to 50 different people in very different type of product team, to be honest. So we were talking to product manager or designer in small companies, startups, but also like in enterprise companies, but also in gaming, in very different type of industry, fintech, health tech, SaaS for B2B SaaS, B2C SaaS, mobile apps. So yes, and we were niching down at each stage on the ICP we thought we could bring the most value to. And that's for us B2B SaaS type of companies, and scale-ups would be the exact type of people we can help. And that's also because we have the experience, because I was the actual ICP when I was working at Lempire. So meaning that I have a good intuition about what's need to be done, meaning yes, it's even safer. And yes, we did that, and we had a lot of hypotheses. Some of them were wrong, so it was still good to do this, but it also built up so much trust and confidence. And it's also a good way to find your first beta testers, because once you have the tool built, you can just outreach people you were talking to at the beginning and say, hey, after the discussion we had together, I just decided to build the tool. It's ready. Do you want to be part of the beta? And we had a lot of people saying yes. And so it's a good time investment, I think. It was pretty long to build the tool. It took us some time. And if we weren't sure about the problem we were solving or the solution we were using to solve the problem, and you spend 1 or 2 years building the product, and then you found out at the very end that nobody wants to use this product or even buy it, that's quite depressing, right? So yeah, you can avoid the situation just by doing it. But Also, some people do it, but they have such a bias, confirmation bias, or just way too much ego, to be honest, and not enough humility that even if they get signals that says that this is probably something you shouldn't be working on, they will still do it. And unfortunately, that's something that we can't solve yet. But yes.
I think ListenUp has the potential to solve that for some if they're prepared to listen up to their own customers. It's interesting. So from there, are you going to be interested in VC or anything yourself, or are you going to go down the bootstrap route?
That's a good question. So since I've been working at Lempire, the bootstrap culture is still within me. And for now, we decided to try our luck bootstrapped. But I don't like to say never. So maybe in the future we would raise funds. I don't know. For now, we don't need it. And if we ever feel the need and we think this is the right move, we will. But yes, not sure now.
Fantastic. So you released on Product Hunt. How was that experience?
Oh, it was very interesting because I know a lot of founders who did very successful product hunt, and everyone has a different experience. To be extremely honest, we did the product hunt without too much expectation from all the discussion we had before, and we just thought we should do it for the experience. And even at one point we thought we should do it just to put it on the landing page, to be honest. But it was a pretty pleasant experience. I was expecting the process to be much more annoying, but yeah, it did bring a lot of signups. But that's the thing. The audience of product hunt might not be the perfect ICP for your product. So very important to keep in mind, because I know so many people who generated a lot of signups doing product hunt, but it brought people who were not their ideal customers. So a lot of them didn't stick to the product, didn't convert to paying users. And some people will even say that product hunt is only for SEO, which is still very interesting because it brings a lot of traffic to your website. And yeah, it's still a win.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I've heard that before, to be fair, where the key benefit, and this is somebody who'd launched perhaps 6 months early, so they've been able to look at some of the long tail effects. And they were saying that the actual benefit from it was this had customers through that had some feedback, etc., etc. But the long term benefit, which they didn't expect, was there was a lot of people who've then listed their product on their websites, so like a lot of the web directories and other places. So all of a sudden, they went from like 2 backlinks to like 400, and it's just almost been overnight without any secondary effort, which was very valuable for them. So when they've released the second time, obviously they've not had that uptick in traffic in the same way. They've had to rely more on what the product hunt launch done for them independently, which I think is very interesting. But it does depend. I've heard of some people reach out and want to join the team. Other people where they've had 100 odd customers sign up. So in business to business tends to not do quite as well, depending on the day. But I think it's a very flexible view of the results because it seems to be from one week to another. It can be incredibly different.
Oh,
It's
yes. Yes. And we had so much luck, to be honest, because we launched on the day with little competition. And the next day, there were some big companies making launches. So, yeah, it's very random, a lot of luck. And it's also a lot of volume. So, yeah, the day of the launch, we just sent so many DMs to all the people we knew in our network. And it's just this. And then you're trying to make if you are in the first top 5, then you get some organic upvotes. But yeah, the first few hours you have to just shoot so many messages manually.
Your advantage being in France, because I know in America it's midnight when it goes live, so you have to stay up until like 4 o'clock in the morning to be able to have that first 4 hour kick. But then for us in through to not so much in India and places because they're 5.5 hours ahead, so like they start to lose the day, but it's still okay. But I'd say it's fantastic.
Yeah, and funny story, the product that were just ahead of us, it was based in the US, so they arrived way later into during the day, and they just went from nothing to top 1. And we were super surprised because the number of votes was crazy. and we just saw that yes, they just were, I think they were banned from the platform that day because yeah, they probably saw that it was boosted not in an organic way. So yeah, you have to be careful. Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, a very good website to actually follow a product until launch. I don't know if it's called Product War 2. I think it's the name. Yes, Product Wars 2. And
Yeah.
it's really good because it's showing you the actual evolution of upvotes during the day and the speed of upvotes per hour. So it's really interesting to follow launches.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Sort of from there, obviously, is Product Hunt going to be something for your sort of continued go to market, or was there not a great deal of value from it, do you think?
That's a good question. I think we will do it again for sure to do like the version 3 of Listen. A lot of people are doing this, but yeah, it's still good to do regular launches, and it's still a very good boost. And you do bring a lot of visibility to your website and you find some customers that way. And especially if you are B2C or B2B, but prosumer, I would say, for people who are tech enthusiasts, I think Product Hunt is actually extremely valuable. But even for B2C businesses, it works for us. I would do it again. And yeah, it's such a cool platform when you think about it. It's free, you post your products, you get some visibility, people get to use and try new products. It's really cool.
No, it's fantastic. So you've mentioned your marketing. Are you going to be using them list for your outreach? Is that how are you eating your old dog food now?
Oh yes, I do actually. I do, and it's also super funny to be on the other side now and be. I was still a user when I was working at Lempire. I was using Lemlist to outreach a lot of our customers to actually have calls with them and ask questions, and it's super useful. Very underrated. Actually, I'm writing an article about this because so many people in the product world don't know how to cold email, not for selling or networking, but to just go talk to the right users or customers. Extremely useful. And yeah, right now we are experimenting with Outbound a lot. We also wanted to try our luck at SEO, but it's a bit more in time investment. And right now we are in a moment where our attention is really precious and the time we spend every day, we have to spend it on the right stuff. So you have to focus, you have to make decisions, and good decision is saying no, prioritization to good stuff. So yeah, for now we just decided, okay, let's fully focus on Outbound because first, I have the knowledge. Two, it's a short-term type of go-to-market channel. And three, it's something you can also roll the ball and don't think too much about it compared to some different marketing channel which are much more time consuming, and also it's cheaper than doing paid acquisition, which we can't do because we are a bootstrap company for now. So yes, and also LinkedIn content. I did slow down a bit because right now I decided that my time is more valuable working on the product and improving it with my co-founder Thomas so that we can go twice as fast. But yes.
So you're coding at the moment then?
Yes.
Oh, at least you've had a break for a while. So is there anything else you wanted to go over?
No, I think we've discussed everything that might bring value to people listening. So yeah, a lot of good insight, and I will keep you in the loop if you're interested. With in a few weeks, in a few months, with everything going so fast. But thank you very much, Tyrone, for this recording together. It was
Yeah.
super interesting and very nice talking to you.
Thank you for coming today, Robin. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I think Listen Up solves a lot of problems for a lot of people, and I hope you really do well and continue to bootstrap it as far as you need to, and can follow in the footsteps of the way you've been helpful in growing Lempire. Thank you for your time, and if you wouldn't mind the next update you do, it'd be lovely to talk to you again and see how the journey's progressed and how you've been able to help different people solve some of their problems. So thank you.